come close so that they can also introduce themselves after I've just shared the objective of this particular public engagement so that we can proceed. What is very important is that today our work is to listen to the different critical stakeholders in Makueni County on education reforms. And we will be doing education reforms or looking into education reforms across all levels. So starting from pre-primary to primary to secondary to tertiary, the different levels of tertiary that we have, and other issues on governance, legal, finance, technology as we move forward. So allow me to read this particular speech that we've been tasked to read to everybody wherever we go. As you're aware, His Excellency the President, William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, through a Gazette Notice number 11,920 of 29th December 2022, appointed a Presidential Working Party on education reforms in Kenya. To this end, the Working Party under the chairmanship of Professor Raphael Munavu has organized public and stakeholder engagement to run from the 31st October to 12th November 2022 in all the 47 county headquarters in Kenya. Public participation is one of the national values and principles of governance enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Article 10, number 2A, and Article 232, number 1D. The overall objective of this engagement is to accord a reasonable opportunity to members of the public and all sector stakeholders to know about the educational issues being addressed by the Working Party and to have an adequate say on them with respect to reform of the education sector in Kenya. During His Excellency the President's interaction with the members of the public, issues on the education reform were raised. For example, the CBC curriculum and its affordability, adequacy and quality of teaching and learning materials, transition of grade 6 learners to junior secondary schools, cost of education to the households, teacher preparedness, parental empowerment and engagement, among others. It is against this backdrop that His Excellency the President formed this Presidential Working Party that is expected to report back to him on the terms of reference shared widely in the media. And I hope we are all familiar with the terms of reference. Today, the purpose of coming to your county, Makueni, is to provide you with an opportunity to give your views on the CBC in the basic education and other subsectors like the TVET and university education. As a guide, you may want to give information on any or all areas within the terms of reference. For the purpose of ensuring that we achieve the objectives of this exercise, the following ground rules shall be observed. All questions or views to be addressed to the chairperson. The public shall be guided by the Working Party chair and members in responding to the terms of reference. Respect for others' opinion. Maintain silence at all times and give a chance for individuals to air their opinions. Minimum movement to be observed and phones to be put on silent mode. So we've been able to identify the different stakeholders in the room. Our initial plan was to start, with the community members as we go up Mama Mboga until the higher levels in the sector. However, we are very blessed to be graced by Our Excellency the Governor. So we'll give our Governor a chance to share his view in the different position he'd like to, whether as a governor, a parent, a concerned Kenya, and then we will proceed with the next groups. Kindly allow me to introduce the team that I've come with.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Makueni County, County Commissioner, National, Regional, and County Leadership, Honorable Members, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Professor Kisilu Kitainge, a member of the Working Party on Education Reforms. Thank you. Your Excellency the Governor,
all the leadership protocols observed. My name is Charles Chalo Mutinda, member of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms. Karibuni na fungueni roho zenu. Asante.
Gavana, wageni wote na wana Makueni, hamjambo? Hamjambo tena? Mimi naitwa Albert Aluvisia. Niko katika secretariat ya hili jopo kazi. Asante.
Good morning. Good morning once again. Your Excellency, all protocols observed. My name is Eunice Gashoka, one of the joint secretaries in the Presidential Working Party. Thank you and karibuni.
Your Excellency, the Governor and members of the public, wacha nijaribu kikamba kidogo, mwaseo. My name is Christine Siranga. I'm part of the Secretariat of the Working Party. Thank you.
So we still have some more. They are visiting some of the institutions and they will be joining us later. So today is your day. Our work is to listen and not share any opinion. So if you ask us questions, we might have a problem responding to it. Because we are supposed to get your view. This is your time to share your views and even vent. If you really want to, vent and breathe, it's your chance. So kindly allow me to invite His Excellency, our Governor, to share his views on behalf of Makueni County.
Thank you, Session Chair. Good morning. Mwe museo. Abi naonde. Nasuni wa wake. Thank you. I'll attempt to be brief. Thank you, the Session Chair, for allowing me the opportunity to speak about your mandate. And I've actually perused through the mandate that you have been given, and the mandate is very big. The mandate is very big, and it encompasses so many things. But allow me to start from a very basic principle, and then I will explain the conclusions that I will make. And I will start with mandate number 1 on the competency-based program. When this program was rolled out, and that will tell you the problem, we had a lot of resistance here. And the resistance came from the largest stakeholders, the teachers. Now, when the teachers who were supposed to be trained protested about the training, they were arrested. And they were not only arrested, they were humiliated and charged in court. And those who refused to obey were transferred. Now, that in itself was a violation of the basic principles of this Constitution. Number 1, I spoke so passionately about this in the Senate and wanted to know why the minister at the time had become a dictator, because I think he was just being a dictator. The basic tenets of the Constitution about public participation were not observed. The parents of this county, and largely the country itself, most likely don't understand what this is. They were not involved. While I was in office as senator, I can't tell you what this is about. If I was to be told to say something about it, I don't even know. Because even the people who were rolling out didn't think it was important to tell us, the leaders, what this was about. They didn't think we were important. We were ignored. So the teachers have not been trained. Those who protested were jailed. The teachers don't know. And obviously the consumers, the students, don't have a voice. And they don't know what to say. Now, if the Constitution requires that every child has a right to compulsory and basic education, if the Children's Rights under the Constitution and the Children's Act is that this child children's interests are priority and paramount, and the principles under Article 43, and the government imposed this curriculum-based education forcefully, my submission at the first instance is that this thing began badly, it is going on badly, and it will end badly. Yes. There's no way. I don't know how you can start a journey going to the wrong direction, and then you end up to the destination where you're going. It's a basic principle of logic. So, in principles of law, we have a basic principle of law. It's called the Hayden's Rule. If you want to know why a certain law was passed, we use a principle of interpretation called the Hayden's Rule of Interpretation. It's called the mischief rule. Now, what is this? The mischief. Mischief is beginning. So, the basic principle of interpretation of law is mischief. So you want to know what was the mischief and what was it that the person who passed the law wanted to cure. That's a basic principle, one of the basic principles of interpreting law. It is my submission to your team that we need to know what is the mischief that this curriculum-based education was supposed to cure. So that we tell government, going forward, the minute you launch a policy, address the mischief first. So that the people who come after us can understand what is it. Because I still don't know what exactly the mischief was. Nobody has explained. Now this is a problem about government generally. And allow me to quote a few people, including Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter said in 1977 that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And he continued to say, that's the trouble with government. They fix things that are not broken and do not fix the ones that are broken. So it's my view that they were fixing something that is not broken. They possibly just needed to streamline. And I've said that I don't believe that public participation was enough. When you do your research, there's a celebrated case I used quite a lot. It's a South African case. It's called a doctor's case. That public participation is not supposed to be tokenism. You're not supposed to just do it because it must be done. There must be the feedback mechanism, and nobody bothered to pick the feedback of these teachers and students. Who are the stakeholders in education? The parents, the teachers, and the students, in that order. The government is a facilitator. The government is not the imposer, cannot impose. They can only facilitate. And I believe that in doing this, the government did not play a facilitative role. They just became dictators. Now, similarly, it begs the question generally, because you have also included in your mandate both TVET, education, ECDE, education, examination, education, teachers, etc., etc. In our case, as a county, and I believe this is a good time to interrogate the devolution of some of this, the function of education to counties. What exactly did the government devolve to counties? I still don't know. Because the Constitution requires that if you devolve a function, you follow it with resources. So if you devolve resources, you also devolve resources for paying of teachers. The ECD teachers all over the country, including Makueni, are easily mistreated. Now, if you move from Makueni to Kisumu, to Muranga, to Kirinyaga, you'll find that ECD teachers are paid differently. My predecessor attempted to resolve this and employed one ECD teacher per class. The fundamental question is are they enough? Is one ECD teacher enough for a class of 60? In a case of Emali, there are more than 60. And most of the schools, including the ones in this town, there are more than 60. Is that enough? It's not. They also devolve technical and vocational training, which you have seen here. Did they devolve the resources? No, they didn't. Is there a curriculum? No, there isn't. Is there ECD training? No, there isn't. So, since you are discussing this, it's high time the country and the education sector call everybody and we first bite the bullet and say, education is the most disorganized function currently. It's moving by faith. Our teachers here just teach by faith. Our students get exam, they pass by faith. And we all pray and say, Mungu ni mwema kila wakati. And hope something is going to come along the way. Am I satisfied that the government is putting the necessary funding in this sector? I am not. I don't think that there's a developed country that doesn't think that education is serious. The only serious part of education in Kenya today is the private education. That's why it appears to have serious education. The other one, people are just running along. And I think that in order to streamline this process and not to appear as if they are children of a lesser God in public schools, we must find a way and a middle ground of standardizing our education. So that it doesn't appear that some call me somebody who went to a group of schools. There's that famous term. This person is talking like this because they went to a group of schools. And then this one is talking like this because they went to a public school. Yet, ideally, this is the greatest investment we can offer the generations to come. It not only offers them skills, we open these children and our children to better opportunities all over the world. Makueni was doing well. We are not now. What is the problem? I want to tell you now, without any fear of contradiction, and with tremendous respect to even the teachers who have come, the delocalization of our teachers has brought in a problem in Makueni. Because it's a fact. So since your mandate is about deployment of teachers, this question needs to be addressed. What was the mischief of deploying teachers? What was it? What was it? And has it achieved the objective? In Makueni, as far as I'm concerned, it has not. We have a problem. So on that alone, I think the government must relook its strategy about redeployment. If it's just one nation, whatever it is, they must think, what is it that we were doing well and how can that be addressed? Remuneration of teachers in Kenya is a joke.
Yes.
You have it in your mandate. Just write, it is a big joke. The people carrying out the biggest mandate of educating, doing basic education and education as a fundamental right are treated possibly the worst. If members of parliament can get money for sitting, which is called a sitting allowance, I mean, teachers must be given allowance even for study. I'm just talking about a country that prioritizes the things that matter. Where possibly half a quarter of the money we'll spend on infrastructure should have been invested in the teachers. Something else is going on with the teachers. Apparently their promotion can only happen if they go for a training which they have to pay themselves. They are poorly paid, they work hard, they are supposed to facilitate their TPD so that they are promoted. 30 years. I mean, really? If Mambo Botela still was hard enough, he was energetically angeuliza na Kiswahili. Je, huu ni ungwana? So I believe that if your team is serious, you are going to propose in this manner, and I've said it's large enough, that we change from east to west in terms of our education, consider our TVETs, the other basic and vocational training. The money that is being invested by national government in these two sectors is too little. The one they are giving to counties is hardly enough, and even then you need to have some curriculum that shows. And I would like you to ask, because this good gentleman is here, Direct Education. There's a very good school in a place called Wamboli in Bawani. Highly advanced, extremely advanced in so many things. And the DCC is nodding because she agrees. But we don't have any other in Makueni. So I wonder, what standard was used in that one that is not there in any other of the constituencies? Polytechnics have been abandoned. They will not tell you if you're looking for a plumber, you possibly have to go to Machakos, or a carpenter. So skills development has also not been given the emphasis that is required. It's in your mandate. As you finish, I want to say that the most active part of the education sector today in terms of funding is a brick and mortar. The teachers and our colleagues, the MPs, encourage to build classes, paint the classes, and write names on them. I've often asked this question. When you build a beautiful classroom like this one, what is the takeaway for the student? When you spend all these resources, what is the takeaway for the student? So we have got to think, even if the CDF is supposed to do this, what else should it do? And at what proportion should we have it so that the teachers and the pupils can get something out of the kitty? Because building just all this rock and concrete is not useful. Because this is not what the students are taking home. Finally, these are the proposals I have for the category of ECD. The parental engagement. The parents have very little knowledge of the new curriculum. That cuts both ways. Lack of ICT skills among ECD teachers and parents, I don't need to explain. Even when you do the CBC and the country is not covered by electricity, I wish you'd go around and look for those famous laptops. Famous and infamous. You'll be shocked. Most of them are stored. Inadequate capacity of building for teachers, I have explained that. And including, in our case, malnutrition and other things affecting our children. Our suggested reforms, capitation. Preschool education should be allocated adequate capitation and ring-fenced. Enforcement of quality assurance in ECD centers to monitor curriculum implementation. 3, National Education Management Information System should be introduced to preschool learners. That's ECD. On the daycare centers, a policy and curriculum for daycare centers should be developed. I've spoken about this. What they are teaching in Kirinyaga, Kwale, Taita is not the same. And lastly, enforcement through sensitization of parent engagement and community service learners. I've said this before that both the CBC, in terms of engagement of the teachers, and I'll give you an example. One of a sergeant at arms at Senate one day came and asked me, Senator, why don't you speak about this curriculum? I said, what is the problem? My son was told to draw the picture of, I asked yesterday, who is this gentleman who was swallowed by a shark? Jonah, yes. They were given homework to draw Jonah in the Bible and bring the following day. So this lady who's a Muslim asked me, how am I supposed to help my son draw the picture of Jonah and bring it to class? Now that is a Sergeant and Trump then sitting at Senate. Now imagine Mama Mwikali in Kalonzweni. So some of the things that they are asking our teachers to do, and I mentioned this yesterday, most of the parents delegate their children to teachers. And in their minds, when they pay school fees, that consideration should be enough for the teacher to do everything. Half of the people who are around this neighborhood have left their children with their grandmothers, and they have gone to Nairobi to look for the proverbial greener pastures. Now that grandmother is supposed to do the homework with this student from Unoa. That hut has no electricity and they have no food. Now, the grandmother in Unoa Primary, I use that as an example because it's a very big school, has 4, 5 dependents who are from class 1 all the way to 8. And she's supposed to assist all of them do their homework. Now, I personally, as a parent, have those issues. When I'm supposed to do homework, when I'm supposed to do it. And I have gadgets, I have iPads, I have laptops, and I get challenges. What are you doing to all those poor parents out here in the neighborhood who don't have access to internet, don't have access to phones, don't have access to technology? And grandmothers who don't even know anything between technology and whatever it is that is in between. And I am therefore suggesting that I don't know what you're going to do. Now, we now are told there's a new exam called KIPSEA. I don't even, I'm having challenges with KIPSEA. There's supposed to be an exam to graduate people between 2 classes, and others are graduating. I'm telling you, this is a disaster. It is a disaster. How we are going to rescue this is something I don't know. But we must find a method that will not put the education sector and our pupils at crosshairs. Because one government decided to do this, and the other government decided to do the opposite. At the expense of these poor children and their parents who spend so much on school fees to educate their children. I've educated a young man. When he got to Form 4, in high school, I met the mother. The mother told me, I have got about an acre of piece of land. If you don't educate my son, I know what I'm going to do with it. Niko na shamba atalima. Is our education system expensive to the normal Kenyan? What are we paying for? What are parents paying for in education? Can they afford? If you answer all these questions, we are going to go to the place where the public education in Germany is the best in the world. Public education. Similarly, their public health is still the best in the world because the government has invested enough. We must get to a place where education in Kenya is free. So that school fees does not become a punishment for our parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We are also looking forward to the answers, and especially from you stakeholders. Your Excellency, just allow me to probe something and see if you can actually guide us. So, two things. We are now aware, and maybe most of us are already, that the education in Kenya, the funds that go to education in Kenya is way above. It's way above many countries in the world in terms of the percentage on our GDP, 25.9%. So I'd like to get it from the stakeholder, including the governor, where are we losing these resources? The other thing, the government tells us education is free. How free? Because Governor, you proposed free education, but we already told education is free. So how free is free? And when we say we want education to be free, what exactly do we mean? So that we can actually take back those recommendations. Governor, I don't know if you want to say something on that, just where you are.
Yes. Perhaps the government needs to audit itself and audit the 25% and then put it in categories and ask yourself where that money goes.
It's okay, Governor. Just bear with us.
The categories must be audited to determine where that money goes and how that money in the end, because my last question, my primary bottom line in the education sector are those students seated at the back. How is the 25.9% reaching the student at the back? And I say so because government says all the time that they are allocating to counties over 30% above the minimum rate, which is 15%. So you ask yourself, where does the money go? And what is it doing? The last question was about free.
Free education, because yeah, we are hearing education is free, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. So how free is free if we have to take it back and say we want education to be free? Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Free means you don't pay. Yeah. Free. I was never an English teacher. But you can't have free in the same sentence as pay.
Yes.
If you pay for a book, then it's not free. If you pay for your lunch, then it's not free. So if you go to a hospital and they tell you consultation is free, you pay for medicine, then it's not free. So therefore, I think if you want it to be free, define what the part that is free, and then define the one that you pay. And then you say education in Kenya is both free and you pay. But in English, when you say it's free and you pay, the word that describes that is called an oxymoron. It's the opposite. So that it is determined that when you enter the school, you come in free. But when you sit in class, you pay for sitting and you pay for your food. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Your Excellency. Members of Makueni County, today our protocol may be very different. I will ask you kindly to bear with me, because that's how we've been running the public participation across the country. So please, if you find me skewing the protocols, kindly bear. I would like for us to start getting views from the students first. Do we have grade 6 in the room? So we have different schools. How many schools of grade 6 do we have? More than one? Okay, so they can arrange themselves. We will hear first from the grade 6, because even though we are all stakeholders, I think they are our clients, isn't it? And as much as we try to resolve our problems, if there's not solving the problems of the client, then we are not getting the outcome we are looking for. So we'll hear from our clients, who are our students or learners, then we'll come to the communities, and then we'll go to the eminent persons or leaders as we proceed. Thank you so much. The students, please come in front. Yes, yes, yes. Kujeni, msiogope. Just want to share your experience at CBC. Na pia mngependa kuwa junior secondary. Kama mnataka kubaki kama mnataka kuenda high school, shule za kubaki sawa. So mtasema pia tunaanza tena kidogo. Na ile shule natoka wacha wamalize kutengeneza hapo. So kindly let's listen to our students.
My name is Abednego Mumo. I'm coming from SK Water Township. Things about good about CBC are because SK.
Yes, please.
The things good about CBC are first, the skills learned can help us when we grow up. They can give us occupations leading to a well-developed life. They will also help in developing our country. They also help us to learn how to live mentally, socially, and physically. The skills in home science help us to know how to cook, how to live a healthy life. In PE, it makes us know how to live a healthy life and also developing a good life. The things that CBC, to me, I think we should go to junior secondary because to me...
Where do you want to go? To another school or your school?
Another school. Although there are some challenges that will be facing me when I go to other schools, such as we might get bullied, which may affect our studies, and in primary schools we get bullied, so I think in high school it will not be that much. It will be that much than in primary schools. And again, some of our parents cannot trust us being far from where we are. For example, a parent who comes from Makueni County and his or her child is called in another county, which might be like Kisumu. So a parent from here to Kisumu, that's a lot. The distance is too much for him or her to bear. Thank you.
All right.
All protocols well observed. All protocols well observed. Allow me to greet you. Good morning. My name is Gloria Mutiso from Premise Makueni Academy. CBC is a community-based curriculum, is a new Kenyan system of education introduced back in 2017. CBC is a learner
CBC is a well-centered system of education as opposed to the 844 system. It has so many benefits to the learners and the community at large. Some of the benefits benefits from the learners when pupils participate in activities like cleaning the market. Parents are empowered because some of the learning materials are expensive and unavailable, making them to lose marks. The assessment is not predictable, like sometimes open-handed assessments and other times multiple choice assessment. This confuses learners. Some public schools don't have learning facilities like computers to access online assessment, which could reduce exam teaching. The government should reduce costs of materials and encourage improvisation, introduce the multiple choice questions and encourage competitions. The government should reduce cost of materials because the pupils from poor backgrounds can't purchase some of the materials. Government should support the provision of facilities and equipment. Example, computers. Thank you.
Do you want to go to high school, junior, or do you want to stay in the primary? Okay, you have to say it loud. I've just asked where they want to go. Do they want to stay in the same primary or they want to go to the secondary schools or high schools?
Well, I want to go to a different school.
All right, a different school, high school or primary?
High school.
All right. So thank you so much. Let's appreciate them. Anyone else want to say something? All right, thank you very much. So we've heard from our stakeholders the pros and cons of CBC, and I am hoping that the different stakeholders in the room will be able to even share solutions to what they have raised.
Whatever it is that they're submitting.
Yeah, I'll take. Yeah, I'll keep this. This is mine now. So, thank you very much. Next, we will give a chance to the different community members association. I know we have, please allow me to call them Mamambogas, the business. Do we have them in the room? Somebody stood from the back. Where are you, Mama? Wamama wetu? Vijana wa jua kali? Vijana wa jua kali? Karibuni. Boda boda mko? Okay, after that we'll have the boda bodas. Then we will go to our leaders and we will start with the Akamba clan elders. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Yes. And then we'll go to the eminent leaders that we've had in Makueni County, or we have in Makueni County. Mama Mboga, najua ulikuwa. Usipotelee mahali. Please come. Yes. Boda boda jua kali. Yes. After this group, we'll go to the secondary schools because soon you might be receiving our young brothers and sisters. We'd like to get your views on that. Karibuni. Mtajitambulisha.
Good morning. My names are David Munyao, the chairman of Juakali Makueni County Umbrella Association, which represents over 60 primary associations. About this CBC, I'm going to talk about my opinion. And on top of that, if time is going to allow me, I'm going to give an example. I propose that the ordinary system of education was not bad. What, according to my view, is needed is the implementation at the level of secondary school. I give an example. The old system, at the primary level, there was some classes which were used to do handwork, which is equivalent to CBC. At secondary school, there were some lessons like woodwork, textile, and ATC, which means that the talented students at that level could be identified because they have enough knowledge and grown-up capacity to choose, which means that after Form 4 education, some can transfer to a technical school to further such technology, that skills. While on the other hand, the others who are good at the academic type of it prosper to university. At this juncture, they are going to meet ahead as the parents to earn their living. And I give an example of myself. And before I give the example, you see that the other area which could be implemented, if the government focus it well, you find that at that level, at that Form 4 level, some others may choose to do cross-cut. I mean that they join Juakali sector, and if that one is put forward by the government and see the importance of it, could form some industrial centers. And at that industrial centers, the other gifted individuals after school, because they have knowledge now, they can prosper their skills according to their subsector needs. And if enough industrial centers with equipped modern tools, such a person may be molded and job creation on the other way on be found there. I give an example of myself. I passed through primary education. My examination was CPE at that time. I went to a secondary school where I went and found a lesson of woodwork. I joined that one. After Form 4, my parents were unable to care for my, courses. Then I attached myself at a workshop, whereby for 1 year, I qualified more better because I had a knowledge from secondary. The following year, I opened my business as a carpenter. After 1 year, I purchased my first plot at the age of 27 years. Is that not a proper system of the people to follow so that they can have good life? That is the question. So, according to my opinion, the amendment is more better if it is done at the secondary level, so that the students could just divert from that area, go to technical schools, others further the normal education, and they meet ahead and they find jobs. Some get employed because they qualified in one way. Others, they create self-employment. For those few, I thank you. Thank you.
To our beloved Governor, our protocols observed. Good morning. I'm John Kimeu, representing the Border Border. First and foremost, to we parents, the CBC is not bad, but the way it was imposed, without participation to the Republic, it can bring unfruitful results. One, it is very costly to the parents. I can recall one day I returned home very tired, only to find my son with huge books, which I was supposed to help him do homework. And at the moment, the day was very dull for us. I had no money. I had no money, and this is work to be done, and it is a must. So, to we parents, you are a parent providing for your children, and yet you have a work to do, and it is a must, because the pupil cannot go to school without the work being done. That day, I worked until midnight, of which it is unbearable. And to the teachers, this CBC imposition, to my point of view, it is not the best, because the teachers were not trained. The education system, it is a backlog to them. They are not trained. I can imagine giving me a vehicle to ferry passengers to Machakos, and I am not a driver. That is very awkward. To the pupils joining junior secondary schools, to me it can raise psychological problems. Why? These are small kids. You've seen them here. They are cowards, to my point of view. And they are meeting grown-ups up. They can be harassed they can be harassed by their seniors, of which, to my point of view, they can have psychological problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. All protocols observed. I am standing here as a Mama Mboga, and I want to say this, that the CBC was not bad as it was planned. It was planned well, but the preparations were not done. I say this because as a retired teacher, the 844 system prepared our children in the wrong direction. The ladies, the girls, were not able even to make tea. And that's why you see in the supermarkets, you will find ready food, because most of our girls cannot cook. And even the boys, when they go to work, they are not able to cook for themselves. So at some point, CBC is helping them, but the preparations which were supposed to be done by the government were not done. And that's why it's becoming a problem to the teachers and to the parents and to everybody who is near or who has a child. Also, the work. The teachers have a lot of work, and it is work which they have not been taught, they have not been prepared. So I suggest that the teachers need to be trained to know what they are supposed to do, and the parents, the government to bring the materials to the schools so that the teachers get them all the materials that they want from the school, not from the parents, because the parents are not able. And also in some areas, you find that like we don't have photocopiers, we don't have computers, and if a parent in the rural area is supposed to draw or is supposed to take something from the computer, it's not possible. Also, when teachers are promoted, the young teachers should be promoted well so that they do the work, because aged teachers sometimes are not able to perform with these very, very young people. I am saying that Mama Bogas also get a lot of work because we get little from what we do, and everything goes to the child. Tuna kazi nyingi sana ya kufanya kama wamama, na hiyo kazi ni kwa sababu hatujasaidiwa. Kwa hivyo na suggest CBC ifanyiwe marekebisho ndio kila mtu awe anaweza fanya kazi yake na afanye vizuri. Asante.
Protocols observed. My name is Josephine Kinoko. What I can say, CBC ni nzuri lakini iko na kazi mingi. Kwa hivyo government ijue vile itasaidia na schools, walete vitu, wazazi huko ndani tuko na njaa, hatuna pesa, tunaitishwa vitu za shule, ni pesa mingi na hatuwezi afford. Haya, tunaweza watoto wanaweza ambiwa watengeneze wheelbarrow. Hiyo. Na wengine hata hatujui. Wengine wanakuta washushu kama mimi, sijui hata inatengenezwaje, sijui kushona chondo inashonwaje, tunaambiwa tu. Na hiyo kazi tunaletewa ni mingi sana. Kwa hivyo serikali iangalie vile itafanya na CBC hiyo.
Haya, tumesikia kutoka kwa Mama Mboga, Jua Kali, na wote pia ni wazazi. So our next categories are our leaders, and now I'm a bit confused. Leaders in what sense? Because I have leaders, I have also county government, I have National Assembly. But I will propose, if we can listen from our eminent leaders, and we give a chance to our former governor, His Excellency Professor Kivutha Kibwana, for so many reasons for Makueni County in terms of education sector. Is that okay?
And he's also a teacher.
And he's also a teacher. So we give a chance to him, and I would like to be guided if we have any other eminent persons in the room, because I'm not very familiar. I would recommend I get that list. Then we'll go to our clan leaders, and then we'll come to the county assembly. We have the speaker, Your Excellency Karibu, and the MCAs here represented. Thank you. Professor Karibu. Popote. Feel free even if you want to stand there.
Team leader, His Excellency the Governor of Makueni County, Speaker of Makueni County Assembly, the County Commissioner, all those involved in the educational sector, and our political class. Na sisi wote hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. I'm not sure I'm an eminent person. I have come here as a senior citizen and educator because I think this is a very, very important matter for our country. And indeed, when this task force was created, I had opportunity to share a little with Professor Munavu about his work. And we talked briefly about the educational system in ancient Egypt. And that educational system whose purpose was to restore what they called MAD, that is rightness in nature and righteousness in society. For them, they sustained a civilization of about 5,000 years. And basically, it was not just military might, but it was the educational system that they adopted. And as far as they are concerned, the education taught cardinal virtues. And this was self-control, moderation, kindness, generosity, justice, truthfulness, tempered with discretion. So they emphasize a lot on ethical values. They made sure that people went through their system, abhorred greed, injustice, partiality, oppressing the poor, laziness, abuse of authority. So the education was of such a nature that they focus on development of character and of the soul. And so it was not a process of just acquiring knowledge, but transforming the learner, ensuring their self-cultivation. And so when one looks at our educational system, we seem to focus more on our kids just getting knowledge, passing A's, and stuff like that. But you get a very bright person who gets an A, goes to law school, goes to medical school. But when they come out, they have the knowledge to be corrupt. They can be corrupt because they have the knowledge. They know, what they need to know. But because they don't have that, they are not formed. There isn't formation. And I think if we don't address that, and it's not always an easy thing to address, so that in our educational system, we focus on, how you cultivate these young people so that there is character, there is ethical foundation, spiritual foundation. That is very, very basic in my view. A Nobel Prize winner, Mohammed Yunus of Bangladesh, says that education should be premised on the ability of those who are educated to create jobs themselves, not just wait for employment. And he describes a lot about, and this was actually very articulately discussed by the leader of the Juakali associations, to educate people so that from primary school, they need to focus on what are the social problems. How can I even later be part of solving them through social entrepreneurship? Like if there is a question of like the 5 billion trees that we are supposed to plant, how from primary school do you begin to tell kids you need to get involved in this environment thing and try to see even how you can make it a business? There are some kids who are doing nurseries and they continue in that way, so that it is again not just education for just knowledge and so on. I think part of the beauty of CBC, in my view, of course with the challenges that are being talked about, but part of its beauty is it's not necessarily very different from traditional education. And maybe when the Akamba clan governing council elder speaks, because in traditional society, you were taught to do the things that you must do for livelihood promotion. Like if you're a boy, you are taught mulau, how to farm. You are taught how to look after cattle. You sit with elders in Adome, that is in the Kamba tradition, and they tell you the wisdom, the things that you must do, the things that you don't do. If you're a girl again, you sit with your auntie, you sit with your grandmother, and you're taught how to be a proper girl and later a mother, a wife and so on. So in the same fashion, CBC is how do you get the competencies that will allow you to move forward in life and not just reading geography on its own and history on its own, and after you do that, you really are not equipped for life. And yes, there are these challenges that are being mentioned about, a lot of work for parents and the teachers were not properly trained. Those are teething problems that and they're serious ones, that must be addressed. And I'm sure that the teaching fraternity knows more than us how to correct that so that you don't throw the baby and the bath water. A lot of the education before, including where we are at, was like the colonial education, which was for, Africans mostly were taught to be clerks, to do those small things, and a bit of an elite, which was taught to take over from the colonial officials and so on. And so it was not a liberating education. And that is why what you're proposing to do must be a liberating education, because education is a foundation of our society. And that is why places like India, which have really taken education seriously, they are controlling most of the big institutions in the world, so that they conquer the world through education. Of course, during the one-party era, during the military regimes in Africa, there was controlled education. And I remember even in our country, there was a time reached when it was said, don't teach too much literature. You're making the students too much, they are thinking too much, and they're bringing strikes and stuff. So English and literature were merged, so that they were taught a little, and even the books were censored, so that I think there's a stamp that this one is, whatever. And I think that is not an important thing. We need to move away from that. The leader I mentioned, the Nobel Prize winner, Yunus, says that we need to be creative so that we can even ask students, what do they want to learn? We don't necessarily just have curricula that are cast in stone, because they also have they have what they want to learn, so that even in primary, even when there is that curriculum, but you also are innovative, you want to ask them, what are the things that you want to learn? And they even suggest that kids should go at the various levels somewhere, then they say, these are the things that we want to learn, these are the things that challenge us. And I wish you have gone to all the schools, you have gone to schools around, and you are listening to students, to pupils, to parents. But I wish it was possible to tell each institution, educational institution, they meet themselves, they write something, they forward it to you, without exception, so that the public participation is very pervasive. And also the teachers in that school, the parents if possible, because of the parents' associations. Because you will have, a lot of information. And even here, we are hearing very, very, very important contributions, so that you get a good product going forward. I think what maybe you could focus on is, what is the education for what society? To impact what values and skills? To produce what type of person, citizen? Because of the purpose of that education, so that therefore, as you are recommending what must be done, we focus on that. One of the problems we have as a country is we don't have a national ideology or a national vision, a national philosophy. And many things that we are doing, we are confused because we don't have a roadmap. Like in Tanzania, they do Jamaa. Kids were taught about, how you are Tanzanian, you are not this tribe, that tribe, so that there is a focus. And there was an attempt to do that in our country. through Professor Katia and so on, but I think it was not progressed a lot. And even as I was sharing with Father, even the Article 10, which has got our values, and Article 232, patriotism, national, whatever, they are abstract still. They are in the Constitution. They have not become part and parcel, of us. I am happy that this is a reform on everything in education, not just CBC, and I think that is a good thing. And even from what people are saying, they are appreciating it's more than CBC. I think in terms of also what some of the parents here have said, CBC to be perhaps effectively looked at, you need to have a system where all parents, despite their education, despite their income in both rural and urban settings, can participate so that there is equal education. And I think our professionals, our teachers, will be able to tell us, how do you make sure that this equalizes all the kids so that the rural ones are not disadvantaged? And I think we resist this because it is also involving the parent in an education. The parent is like going back to school. Whether it's a rural parent, whether it is even elite parents, who also say they don't have time, and therefore they can't participate a lot. So that aspect shouldn't be abandoned, because it's good for even parents themselves to take more responsibility in the education, in the growth of their children. Strictly speaking, the first school should be in the family. That should be the first school. Our governor talked about ECDs, Schedule 4 of the Constitution, what part of education is national, what is county. And truly the ECDs are under-resourced, the teachers are under-trained, paid, some by PTA, some by county, the equipment, the materials, the classes, and this is the foundation of the education. If the kid does not get a good environment, that will affect how they study throughout. So we need to look more carefully at our ECDs. In America, for example, at ECD level, they are already beginning to learn through computers, even IA, even very, very advanced systems of education. But this is a place to really look at very, very carefully. Governor said that it's not uniform. Everybody does what they kind of want. There are no scheme of work for the teachers. We need to look at this, and so that parents are not burdened by having to have a PTA teacher. And for that to happen, the national government must bring the resources to this level from the 15%, we were told 35%, because without adequate resourcing, then that ECD will not work. The counties do basic TVET, and the national government more advanced TVET. I think we need to reconsider whether all of TVET should actually not go to the national level. Because TVET, in terms of the training for skilling, to standardize it, to make sure that all the necessary equipment is there, to have therefore a uniform way of doing it. It might be something that we might want to consider getting it to the national level. It is not like the polytechnics that we used to have, just where you send failures. This is serious business in terms of industrialization. If you're going to train people, of course, counties, we like to keep what we have. And when you suggest something should go to the national level, people are not happy. But I also think that the construction of primary schools, classes, that could go to the counties. Actually, they may do better work when they are doing it at a local level, and I do appreciate when the governor said that it's not just construction of classes alone, it is everything that goes with that. I think it's important to focus on that talent identification. And I think there are people who are trained from PP, ECD, therefore at all levels, to spot the talents of people and help students to pursue them. I hope we can focus on that social entrepreneurship, the ability to look at social causes, and students from early on are helped to begin to think of business, of self-employment through them. So that is something that is included in primary schools, in secondary, or all the way to teach an element of that, to teach an element of ethical formation, critical thinking, innovation, and volunteerism, so that people begin to volunteer from primary school. Starehe at secondary school had a very beautiful way of volunteering. And when you look at Starehe kids, you can almost know them even after they have left Starehe without that uniform, because they were formed in a particular way, and one of the things that helped them was that volunteerism. Of course, also IT and culture, because again, when I was growing up, after school sometimes, like on Friday or Saturday in the evening, we would sit with our grandparents, with senior people, and they would tell us stories about, a hyena which was very greedy, the one which was brave, and so on. And that way, you learned values which became so important for you. And so the culture is also a very important aspect, so that if there could be from that, the social entrepreneurship, the ethical formation, the volunteerism, mentoring, culture, IT, if everybody is exposed to that, as well as whatever other things that they do, I think that would be important. One thing that troubles us, team leader, is we have all these people who are trained, but they are not employed. They have to wait for, 10 years to get employed. That's a waste of a lot of resources. A way has to be found, especially in this CBC, which is very involving, how those can assist in the process without wasting people that we have used a lot of money to train. Maybe very, very quickly, because of time, we have many. Science labs. I think each secondary school should have a science labs. If they don't have, that should be one aspect of registration. Because you take through kids and they see the drawings of a test tube. And now when they're going to write an exam, that's when they go to the neighboring school which has got test tubes to go and do practicals. That's not practical. So at the very least, I think, and of course incrementally, IT labs, because that's the future. If we don't get involved in IT, and also libraries, whether physical ones, maybe online will be difficult, but at least there should be something like a library. There are some schools that are involving their students in governance, so that there is a committee, and that committee, sometimes when there are problems, they bring the problems to you, and the teachers, the leaders of the teachers here know more than us. That's school governance, and if kids are involved in it, probably they will not be banning schools. Probably, some of these issues that are in the schools, like, drug addiction and so on, they're able to tell you about some of those things because they feel closer to the administration. One can't overemphasize teachers, lecturers. They are very valuable. They are paid very little, even in terms of the training, promotion, all those aspects. If you don't support the teacher will not give you the best that they can. And even this business of if somebody had didn't have a C class or something, and they had a degree in education, they are told that they can't be registered for TSC. Again, that is something that doesn't make sense because they are late bloomers. You can get a D and a D or a D plus and become a minister in life. So why would you? So why would you? And I hope that when you are, your first recommendation team leader, that one recommendation, but teachers, in terms of professions, in countries abroad, teachers are very highly placed because they know that your society will develop according to the education that you have. And I remember I taught at the University of Nairobi for 25 years. And by the time I left, my salary had not reached as a professor 1,000 shillings, 100,000 shillings. But these days, I hear that people are getting 100,000 shillings when they are beginning their work. So I think that aspect is very central. What you do with the teachers and the lecturers and so on. You asked about the question of affordable education. And primary school should be truly free. Free in the sense that the government says free. But because there is free, and you see for that to happen, the government must give the money that they are supposed to give. So that there isn't a challenge of the teachers having a gap and then having to tell the parents, that's a letter E, a letter in. So the if that primary school education is truly free, because all the manifestos are saying so, and I think it's important for us to say, as we move towards free secondary school education, we could begin by the day public schools making them free from next year. We could begin with that. So that's a journey of also doing, because most of the manifestos are saying even secondary school education will be free. I think when the government says it is subsidizing universities, then they must give the money, because many of these universities are crumbling because they don't get that money. And now, because also the parallel programs were weakened, they don't get money that we allot. So again, we need to the government needs to give the money to universities, which are the subsidies, and then the parallel programs need to be still strengthened. I'm not sure about the universities. Sometimes there are many and they are not. There are many and they are not performing as well as they should. Like you hear teachers in Egerton wanting to go on strike. So one wants to see whether you can rationalize them so that you focus on in particular regions. Like if you have 8 regions in the country, you look at which universities in those regions, what are they doing, how strong are they, can some specialize in certain disciplines, so that again we have real universities, we have strong universities. So that may be a review to see whether all of them are sustainable. Of course, Makueni, we want a university ourselves and so on, and it was said that the 47 counties at least there will be universities, but they must be sustainable because there will be universities in name, not true universities. Maybe because now we have a Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, you can recommend to explore a way where some of our academicians abroad can actually help to teach here virtually. And some of them, I'm sure, would like to volunteer. And that input, I think, can be very important. They're giving back to Africa. I will not say a lot about private institutions, the universities and so on, they are representatives here. But one needs to look carefully at all those private institutions which teach marketing, teach many things, to be sure that they're teaching proper things, that they're not just getting money from students. I don't know what Nat Kupet will say. Sometimes students are made to repeat so that they get higher marks, so that they can also give credibility to the institutions like primary schools and so on. I think that needs to be looked at because the kids can be oppressed. They don't repeat and repeat so that, you know, there is a whatever. Finally, in terms of help, ideally those loans should be interest-free. And one should begin to pay after they get a job. And maybe if they get a job or employ themselves, and maybe if after 5 years a student has not gotten a job, maybe there should be loan forgiveness. I think that is an area that is also oppressing many students, because if you have not paid and you don't have a help certificate, sometimes you can't get a job. And you know, you didn't have a job before, therefore you didn't have an income. So that is also another area to really look at. But otherwise, this is the first time I've come to Wote after I left for 10 years, because I thought this is very important, and I had to make my presence and also say hi to the governor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Members, I've been informed that we have secondary school students in the room. Do we have secondary school students? And they're supposed to go back to school. Should I allow them to speak? Yes. Where are our secondary school students? They'll be followed by our clan elders. Then we will come to the speaker and the MCAs.
To His Excellency, Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr., to the Presidential Working Party, school administrators present, our teachers, representatives of Secondary School Students' Council, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, good afternoon. I am Monica Wangui, the school captain, Moani Girls High School, and on behalf of my fellow students, stand here to present our views on the recently implemented competency-based curriculum. First, I render sincere appreciation to the incumbent President, His Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for forming this task force led by competent Professor Raphael Munavu, which is geared towards streamlining the implementation of the curriculum and addressing gaps that have been identified since its inception in 2017. Through research and interaction with our young ones back at home, I have learned a thing or two about CBC and find myself well fitted to comment about it. 4 tenets of CBC have caught my attention, and I seek to speak about them as well as make suitable recommendations. Some of these tenets are value-based education, community service learning, parental empowerment and engagement, and the competency-based assessment. CBC is good. Just as the students themselves have said, the kids from primary, it's true, CBC is good. It is impacting skills towards their life, because these kids have to fit in the competitive world where we need creativity, where we need skills, where we need true ideas. We need solutions, but not only solutions, but lasting solutions, isn't it? When they are exposed to the community, they're given a chance to interact with the locals, whereby they are going to solve the problems, but are ready for the CBC. Some of the recommendations that we've come up with as students are that the domiciling of junior secondary schools domiciling of junior secondary in secondary schools implies mixing of learners within the ages of 12 to 18 in the same compound, which is somehow challenging. We just heard a kid say that he's afraid. You can to early exposure of a different world. He's sent to Kisumu. Imagine the distance their parents. May they be, they are not yet ready. And as I conclude, as an individual and a nation, we are in engagement meeting, and I look forward to public participation, which has been exercised today. We've been given an opportunity to give our views and our opinions freely. And I would like to say thank you for that. May God bless Kenya. Mungu wabariki sana.
Concerning point that was on the Gazette concerning the assessment of an appropriate structure to implement the CBC. I therefore suggest that the CBC Junior Secondary School should be located in the current primary schools due to the following reasons. To start with, to look at the ratio of the primary schools to that of secondary schools, in most part of the country, we'll find that the ratio is very high. For instance, where I come from, Hola in Tana River County, we have almost 12 primary schools and 2 or 1 secondary school. So my question is, where is that facility that is able to cater for that very large population? The second point is that since the CBC students are day scholars, I think so. So I think most of the senior students, Form 3s and Form 4s, will use the junior students as an intermediaries for sneaking drugs into the school, thereby increasing the cases of drug abuse in the school, leading to immorality. Another issue is about bullying. I think bullying will be intense because there's no enough human labor, starting from the teachers and students council, that is able to monitor and guide the large population student. Finally, there is lack of parental resources. For instance, a pastoral parent, if I may ask, his or her child is asked to do some research in the internet. Where will he access the internet? That's a question up to you. Lastly, I suggest that the CBC Junior Secondary School should be located in their current primary schools. Thank you, and God bless you.
All protocol observed. Good afternoon. Let me take this modest but very sacrosanct opportunity to thank the government and all the stakeholders that have taken part to make this day as successful as it is. I am Nyama Onesmus Sanga, Chairman, the outgoing Chairman Student Council, and I'm glad to take this opportunity in participating on the review of this competence-based curriculum. Basically, on the technology for curriculum delivery, improved learning, outcome and education management. As you all know, Kenya majority are under the poverty line according to census of 2019. Again, 78.7% of the Kenyan population is literate. CBC, as you all know, has a lot of demanding from the parents. Parents are engaged to guide the students in some areas and also purchase some material goods to be used in school. To the students whose parents are not learning, they are disadvantaged. Again, a family which is taking 1 meal in a day. You can imagine, and 6 oranges are needed in school for practical work. I think this is another burden apart from the fee to the parent to pay. We have schools in Nairobi and Mombasa. Well, we also have school in Garissa and Turkana. This is one Kenya. There's a student in Turkana and Garissa who have never seen a computer or a smartphone from his or her parent. Remember CBC, some pictures are to be taken from home to be filed in school, for the student to check in the field that student is more interested in. What I mean is that there's difference in technology levels. We first balance them first before we implement it. I propose the junior secondary to be in primary school. There are so many private schools which cannot afford the cost of starting and running the CBC system. Do you want to say only government school will accommodate this large number of students? And if so, where will the teachers in private school, which will have failed to manage, be employed? Because they take part in developing the Kenyan economy. This opposes the principle of social and maximum benefit. CBC can do best in more developed country. It's good, but Kenyans, we are not ready. If you don't earn like them, let's not spend like them. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. I am Onesimus Sanga Nyamawi, outgoing school chairman. Thank you.
Thank you,
Makueni school, here.
All protocols observed. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is John Praise from Makueni Boys High School. I am a Form 4 student, and I want to thank all the stakeholders for giving us an opportunity to share our views as students. I believe that every education system has its advantages and disadvantages. But what really matters is if these advantages are outweighed by the disadvantages. If we have a system that is outweighed by the disadvantages, then what is the need of having it? Now, the competency-based curriculum, or the CBC, has been a subject for everyone, including the stakeholders of every institution, even the public. I know for most of us, we are products of the 844 system, aren't we? Every single one of us has come out of a system where we are told that we need to learn theory work. We need to have the facts. We need to know a lot so that we can be able to be important in this life. But look at it in this way. As we have this important knowledge, it helps us to work on our practical side. Sindio, we can be able to work on our practical side once we have the facts. Now, let's look at statistics. Kenya is ranked 7th in Africa and 95th in the world for the most effective education system. A round of applause for us. So we are top 100 in the best education system in the world. How have we been able to achieve this? 844 system. Sindio, we have done this in that system. We have grown in it. We have learned to embrace it. We have learned to develop it, shape it out so that we can have it more refined and more practical. I'm a student. I sit in class. My teacher comes in the morning, teaches me from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm in class. Every single thing that they tell us is more important. I know for most of us, it might seem as tiring or just laborious, but as we look at things, how is the CBC helping us? We are told to work on the practical side of it. we are told to come with chickens to school so that we can slaughter them. And at some point, zitakuliwa too. But then look at it. What's the theory work? In biology, we are told about anatomy. We can be able to learn about different organisms, be able to learn how they move, their adaptations. And then at the end of it all, we have the practical side of it. We're able to enter in class, we're able to learn and see, well, this is a practical chicken. I can see everything I've learned in theory work. But then look at it. If I just give you the practical work, how will it help? How will it help you to become a better person? Number 2.
Using a chicken.
Number 2, as a student in such a system, I have gained so much advantage. The system is so straightforward. I can be able to know if I've gotten an A, a B, or a C, or even a D. I can be able to gauge myself and know, well, I'm not doing well in class. My parent can be able to know that my son is not doing well, because the responsibility is given to the teacher. The teacher is able to assess me and tell me, you're not doing well, you need to put more effort. Well, for a CBC student, they're told, well, you are above expectation, you've reached the expectation, you're below expectation, but you really don't know what you've got. So, as a student who's in the 844 system, it means a lot when I know I have gotten an A, isn't it? Yes. It means a lot because I know I'm ready for the society. I'm ready to make a change because I have the facts. I can be able to solve problems because I know from my history that this and this happened in Kenya. I know where my education system came from. I know that I can be able to solve problems because the knowledge I have is enough to know what solutions I can give, isn't it? Now, in another standing, a student who has very generalized grades cannot compete in this world. If I take a CBC student to a school in Harvard, give them an exam, and then they are surprised I got something very different from what I'm used to. You know, this 844 curriculum is kind of similar to what other nations or other developed nations use. Because if we look at things, there is the theory work, isn't it? And then there is the practical work. But if they're focused on the practical work, if I give you a theory exam, will you pass? Will you be able to meet the expectations? So, in my view, I believe that the CBC is a good program. But for all of us, I believe that the 844 has helped us to become what we are. We are refined because of the things we have learned. A teacher will stand in class, give theory work, but at the same time will give you moral values. Will tell you this is not right, this should be done like this. And at the end of it all, you come out as a better person. If we are telling students to specialize on what they believe they can do, if I'm a singer, or I can draw, or I think I'm good in class, then if I don't have the basics of mathematics, how will I be able to manage my finances as an art person? How will I be able to tell someone that, yes, I'm a singer, I can be able to do this and this, but in true sense, I don't have the basics. I just know how to sing and that's all. I don't know anything else. I cannot be able to use the skills and the options I've been given. Because if I learn mathematics, English, Kiswahili, geography, history, those are options. Those are disciplines that help us to become. And so I pose this question. If a student begins to specialize on what they want to do, what is the essence of me going to a tertiary institution? Why would I waste time going to a university, whereas I have always learned everything that is taught in university at the basic level? What's the essence? So I believe that the CBC is a good program, but we are not ready. As students, we believe even those that are before us need a chance to explore themselves, need a chance to become people that can be able to know what they want in life, so that once they get the opportunity to specialize, they can do their best. Thank you so much to everybody. God bless you.
So maybe when we get a chance for the teachers to speak, they'll tell us more about the solution about grading, isn't it? How do we grade our students? So please allow me to invite our clan elders, the Akamba clan elders. And please, after that, the county assembly speaker as well as the MCA should be ready, then they'll be followed by the members of parliament here represented or here present.
Your Excellency, Governor of Makueni, Honorable Mutula, former Governor Makueni, districtive guests and participants, good afternoon. I am Gabriel Ndabuki. I remember first 1961, I was here when it was a primary school. I thank God for that. Now, professionally, I have been a teacher, primary school teacher, and I retired back 2007. So, in my views that I will give here, they will only concern ECD to grade 6, because that is where now I am involved back at home as a grandfather. And before, there are things because of my age that when I came, I wanted maybe to put them across to all of us. Before I forget them, allow me just to say them. One, our objective of education system has been, we take our children, our students to school to learn, to pass examinations and get employed. Is it not that way? Yes, but things are changing now with the objectives of education, whereby we need to take our children to school, they learn, they pass examinations and create employment. This time is create employment, not to be employed. Another one that I wanted to say before I say other things. Now, since 1966, standard 7 and 8 here, not other places, but all over Kenya, they did one exam. Standard 7 and 8, they did one exam. 1985, somewhere there, standard 7 did not do exam. And the parents did not complain. All those changes which were brought, 844, and there's a new primary approach, you will not get parents complaining. This time, I am not happy to be here today because somebody somewhere did some mistake. I'm coming here because of a mistake done by somebody somewhere, bringing this change, which he has not done much research, has not involved the stakeholders, and I don't know what to say more. Anyway, anything that is put here, wherever you meet, everything has got two sides, positive and negative sides. Let me talk a very little, because it has been said by my predecessors here that there are things which are good as far as this CBC concerned. because it is more practical. I used to be a tech tutor, and I told most of the teachers around here who are here of my age that we need to bring our children to be more practical approach so that they can understand what they are doing. More problem solving. Also, they can now have a critical thinking of what they are doing. They can criticize this and that, this is like this, the flowers are here and that, like that. They can criticize their activities, which is very good in our life. Now, they are also aware of the digital. My grandchildren are better in these phones even than me. I would maybe ask my young one, very young one, to operate the phone, and they will do it for me. So they are aware about this, and I think it is good because of the CBC. They are also, when they are doing these activities in the school, they need very minimal supervision, because he has an objective and he wants to get to that objective. So he is so much committed to that, and now he can be of self-commitment. Then, there is something very wrong, and nobody has said about this. In any learning institution, which takes maybe some time, the learners need to know what they achieved in that institution. Was it a polytechnic, driving school, or this and this university? I passed with A honors. I passed with KCP, I got As. University, I get D. Secondary, I attained BA or something like that. But with the CBC, I know. Exam, the teacher is brought exam in where? In the phone. And when that exam is in the phone, is it now confidential? No, because I can also have the phone with the exam, and then I can give it to my children, even before they go to the class. Is that an exam, please? Do you want to take our students, our children now, for 6 years, for 8 years in school, and it's just like seminar? When we are here, we can get a certificate that we attended this seminar here. Yes. This is not, we don't want, if we want seminars, we will go to the agriculture field officers, we go to other places where they want to teach us things after we have finished what we have learned, but not being given attendance certificate. Also, we are told that the education is free. Is it free? Yes, I'm talking about from grade 1 to 6. The other day, they asked 300 shillings for downloading the exam. 300 shillings for printing the, how much? They are how much do you give per student, per pupil in the school, in the primary school? How much? 107. 107. Mtoto tayari amelipa ngapi? 6. Na ataendelea kulipa zaidi. Si ameuliza alete kuku. Si ameuliza alete crayon, which is one packet 100. Too expensive for us, and especially the people who are in the rural area. Number 2, whoever made this mistake about bringing the change did not know what Kenya is. What Kenya is, okay? Did not look at the map of Kenya. Where? Because when we are here in Wote, can get crayons, you can get eggs, you can get this and other things, you can get them. But when you are the place you have mentioned, like Turkana, like Garissa Huko, Wajir, Madera, where are you going to get those things? Are our children learning the same materials, skills? Are they having the same skills? No. Because those who are in the urban areas, yes, they can get the materials, but those are far away, they can get different materials. So this person is not find about who are going to be recipients of CBC. To say something good about maybe changes that I witnessed, the new primary approach. I was now a bit grown up, and the teachers who are teaching those preschools and those who are teaching lower primary schools, their classes looked like a house of a mad man. Why? Because you will find at a corner, they call it a nature corner, at that corner you might find a shop where empty bags, empty packets of biscuits are placed as stock. You see which are some small stones, rough, put as stock. And when that activity comes, you will find one child starting there as a shopkeeper. It's not business. How much does that one cost? No, it costs nothing. Art, you find somebody now drawing a cow, drawing goat, drawing even with a pencil. How much will you sell this cow for me? How much will you sell this goat for me? The bit. This system did not cost anything. Even if it costs, it's very minimal. But why this one is costing so much as if we are all the same level in what you are better? Okay. Also, I am now told to make something. Somebody said that we don't download pictures. Me, I cannot download them from my phone. I'm told to download something or draw, make something which I have not made in my life. For example, when we were at home, we were making ropes, isn't it? I am now told to prepare fiber for the rope. Is that my worker, my teachers? No. I say no. I am not. I finished my learning. I don't want making ropes. Teachers give all those putting the system. Give what you want to give. If I have made prepare the fibers, will the child know how to prepare the fibers? By this I mean, we don't call all things within the CBC bad, but one is they need to be corrected, isn't it? Like that one. Give activities relevant to ages and grade. That's all. If they are done that, somebody is not. When I was in standard 4, I was able to make ropes. And I'm telling you, our parents came to buy the ropes to our school. I will make you from the thing ile ya gole ya mpira kutoka upande hii mita 100 mpaka kule. Naweka hiyo. Na unajua hiyo rope ilikuwa inafanya nini? Inatengeneza kitanda. So, these activities should be made to bring something to the school, but not the parents to bring money to the school. Another thing that I have not heard people saying, it is this irregular closing and opening of schools. Something, you would like them to persist on putting them into practice so that at the end of the day, they master what they have learned, isn't it? But if I bring a new skill today, then tomorrow we go home, they go to meet with their, but not even here they go to meet with our parents. But there in Turkana and other places, they go to look for when you are making things, please try to them that to make sure that these things are aligned with the recipient or the learner. Okay, overburdening the teachers. Overburdening the teachers. Forms to fill. Every day forms to fill. Every day, because we don't have these computers, sending people to go and print your exams. Yeah, no. Now, I'm going to finish. No, allow me to finish. Now, our teachers, I don't want to criticize your teachers, because although I never went in that, but the organizing was friendly to me. So, these teachers are not well trained on CBC. And to make the matter worse, the trainers are not even well versed with the activities there. So, how can a trainer things? Can you see the lineage? Who is the training? He is not aware so much. He is training somebody how to go and look at the children. Things don't appear like that. And I've said that activities, when you as much as you are correcting them, try to make the activities match with the grade and match with ages. And avoid, remove parents from your CBC. Thank you very much.
So tumesikia very words of wisdom. Sawa sawa, tunashukuru. So the next is Speaker Sir, the County Speaker, and the MCAs. I know you're present because you introduced yourself. All your representatives, just after the Speaker, please come over.
Thank you, Moderator. Your Excellency, the Governor from Makueni, Your Excellency, the first and the former Governor from Makueni, an educationist, Professor Kibwana, the education sector, the Working Party, representing His Excellency the President here, the stakeholders. Good morning. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I want to be very brief. We received the invitation, and thank you very much, the County Assembly of Makueni, and you had invited our MCS. It was not possible. In the County Assembly, we have a number of teachers, quite a number of them. We have some PhD students, but we reduce ourselves to two. There is a retired teacher, a unionist. Now we would like to invite her to give a brief remarks on the perspective of community MCAs and her experience in education, and the fact that she's retired, come from Kilungu Ward. I will introduce her. The other one is, I think she should be 35 to 36, 37 years old. She schooled at around Tunoa. She later visited Precious Blood Kilungu. She was posted on Booni. She was teaching Booni girls, and then she resigned to be a MCA at that age. I think she has a perspective. So you'll hear both. One was a primary, and the other one was a secondary school teacher. And one is close to 45, 50 years old. The other one is assenting, struggling with CBC. Every other time she has excuses not to attend assembly, to attend to the son. So Honorable Sarah Mbilo, not Mbilu, Sarah Mbilo, please, no relations. One is Mbilo, L-O. My name is Douglas Mbilo, L-U. I come from Zawi, she comes from Kilungu. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity. I am Honorable Sarah Mbilo, representing Makueni County Assembly, MCS. To His Excellency, our Honorable Governor, Mutula Kilonzo Jr., a mighty governor. All protocol observed. I want to start by thanking the Lord for the opportunity and allowing all of us to be here. I also want to allow our governor, who has said it all. Actually, he is very much involved in the CBC all round, and that is why you found his message, and which was the first one, touching all stakeholders. He is a parent, he is our governor, and is very much involved, for most of his own children are in the CBC. Actually, he is really touched by the CBC. I also want to thank the government for seeing it necessary for having this task force to review the CBC and actually involve all of us for a public participation, which was not done initially as it was supposed to be done before the rolling out and the implementation of the CBC. So whoever saw it necessary, our president, we really want to say thank you. For those who are in the task force, we also want to appreciate you for coming all the way down to Makueni. We really appreciate. Actually, as a teacher and a former union, KNUT Makueni branch, I want to say CBC was brought when I was a teacher. I have been in and inside the CBC as one of the teachers and also a head teacher of an institution supposed to supervise the CBC. Actually, I want to say CBC is a very good curriculum. It's only that it never followed the proper stages before it was implemented. First, I would like to say, being a very good curriculum, it has its strengths. Us who are in it have very many challenges, and it also have its strengths. One, I would like to talk about the strengths and say that being a good curriculum, one, it is child-centered program. It is practical. It involves a lot of doing, and the pupils will be able to acquire and to understand whatever is being taught more actually than just talking and telling them this is supposed to be done, this and that. They are involved by doing. For the lesser ones, I would say it is good in this manner. Since CBC has taken away ranking, the lesser ones don't care, because you will not know who was on top of who, because we only talk of expectations. And many people don't know these expectations. You only find people saying you met expectations, you exceeded expectations, and these expectations are not specified, unlike in other curriculums, whereby we end ranking and we could know which school was top and which school is not performing. Again, coming back to our governor's speech, you heard him say Makueni used to top in education. These days with the CBC, actually we don't know where Makueni is, because it is not ranked. We don't know whether Makueni exceeds expectation, or we are meeting, or we are below. So it is only good, that is a strength for the lesser ones who are also don't care and who are just sleeping there to go as a crowd, not knowing where they are. I also want to say CBC is also good because it has introduced many fields, many subjects, and you find that many talents, different talents, will be nurtured and if developed, you find that many pupils who will go through CBC will be helpful or will be self-reliant in the future. It's only that with the way the CBC is and the way they don't get certificates, we really don't know how they will get the ranking. Another strength is that it only involves those parents who have a know-how of technology. It is an advantage to them because anything brought by their pupils as homework, it will be very easy and it will just be 1, 2, 3 and their pupils are done. This curriculum also promotes culture and patriotism. The songs we sing and the poems, the drawings, and many things enhances the culture and the patriotism in this country. It also enhances unity, cooperation, and teamwork because most of these practicals are done in group work, in classes, in schools, and therefore pupils will be working together with their parents and with their teachers and with their fellow pupils. It will enhance solidarity and teamwork. I would also say that being a good curriculum, it also assists the business people because like the cyber, every day the teachers are going there for photocopying, for downloading, and that is money. So the business people are really embracing CBC because they are really achieving. Those who are selling sisal, ropes, needles, chicken, onion, cooking oil are also in business because you know this practical work like in home science has really enhanced the cooking, and the cooking materials are not there, they are just bought. So the business people are really getting it right. Those are some of the strengths for CBC, but I would like to say and very strongly say the challenges for CBC are more than the strengths. One, as I had said earlier, before it was implemented, the proper stages for introducing a new curriculum were not followed. One, they just came straight to implementing. There was no training, there was no piloting, there was no assessment, evaluation, and all those stages. Neither of them. They only came straight to implementation. I want to say especially teachers are really getting it rough. The head teachers the same. Because you are taught to implement, and most of this you have no idea. The way one of us said here, you go to the education officer, they tell you to go and Google. You Google and maybe you have not understood. You are supposed as a head teacher to come down to your teachers and tell them go and teach this, implement this. I will be coming to supervise and assess you. And you are only stressing as a head teacher. Maybe the teacher asked you a question. Kindly, madam, can you come and assist me do this? You will start launching and say you are going to the education office, you have a meeting. Simply because you don't know and you don't want to tell your teachers as the head teacher you don't know. Simply because there was no proper training. Kindly, I would like to say, being a good program, we say again we are not ready because there was no proper training for education officers and also the teachers. I want to say again, another challenge is that the curriculum is too expensive, very expensive for everybody. For teachers, for parents, for everybody. As teachers, they are supposed to go to education offices every now and then. They are not given facilitation. They have no fare, they have no means. Some have to work the whole day and they miss other lessons just to attend to one assessment. It It is very expensive to parents. These practicals are provided, the materials are not provided. And each and every day there is a practical, either science, hard work, music, and all that. If we are not cooking, we are dancing. So we need the dancing materials. If we are not dancing, we are going somewhere to do something. We are going to the market to sweep. And imagine some of these places, we are also endangering our pupils because they are too dirty. They don't have protective materials or uniform to wear, and they just go and sweep. Sometimes you find them sweeping places where we have very dirty water, very dirty things thrown there, and it is our pupils to sweep and collect. Some without even gloves, some without even masks, and they are there sweeping and talking and really enjoying. So we are also endangering our pupils with some of these practicals. It is a too involving curriculum, and you know some of our parents are never there at home. They have gone to look for daily bread. They only come once or even send the money mandate. They cannot have fare to go home. They only ask through phone, and it is just a neighbor's phone. Enda kwa fulani muchukue simu. They only send money and they say they are seen only on Christmas, once a year, December. And you ask that parent to assist in homework, they will not be able to do it. So it is very expensive and it's not able for parents. Most of the materials needed are not easily available, either at home or in the shops. A few of the parents are analog, and therefore they are not able to assist their pupils. Parents have no money and they have no time for the curriculum. We should say it should encourage many school, it will encourage many school dropouts, and very early as in primary. Because if they are not able to provide the materials and the parents don't care, they are not there, those pupils will stop going to school. And the number of school dropouts will be more. Recommendations: proper training and for teachers and education officers, and the CBC to wait for everybody to be ready. The government to meet all the expenses needed for the curriculum, and all stages before implementation to be followed for the curriculum to be successful. Learning and teaching resources to be filed in schools to ease the work. A lot of awareness and continuous awareness for parents to be done such that they know what is happening, because most parents don't know what is CBC. Everyone to have a positive attitude about the CBC if it is going to stay. And especially the teachers and those who are involved and the parents. Another recommendation is that the junior secondary to remain in primary, and let the head teachers be promoted to principals such that they feel they are also handling secondary classes. Again, they be remunerated for that, for the pupils to be ready. I want to stop there and allow my fellow MCA, Honorable Tintin, to complete. Thank you, I appreciate.
I'm a teacher. I taught in board girls for all listened to everyone that has spoken. Very proud of the students who are here. The girl from Makueni, from Makueni, the boys from this school, the teachers have done a brilliant job, and that is what education is supposed to do. Honorable Your Excellency, I have noticed, I have those boys and girls are very eloquent. Uko na competition hapo. Yeah, those are orators in the making.
I hope you make it to Senate and Parliament and showcase what you have learned. So yeah, so education is supposed to take you there, and you're getting there. So congratulations. I will take a different route. I think most of the things have been said, but the clansman has summarized my feeling about CBC, quote unquote, Petangai and say CBC. Because I think the speaker has quoted me as giving excuses during work. I can't tell the number of times my son has gone to school kama hajafanya homework, because it is something I personally cannot do. We have to involve including mafundi at the market, you know, because maybe you're supposed to make a beam balance, you're supposed to make a scarecrow. We don't have the materials. I can't do it myself. Sometimes we involve the shamba boy. So this is, I don't know exactly who is learning in that case. If it is my son, or it is me, or the shamba boy, or the fundis, and at the end of the day, he's not the one who is getting that skill, but it's going to be used to place him in the expectation table, yeah? So, yeah, our teachers are really, they have so much to do. One of the reasons I was motivated to get out of the teaching, in the teaching profession, is the TPAD. The TPAD was too much for me. And I think it is too much. You know, we have so many things to prepare, the lesson plans, the schemes of work, which are never ending. And you have to produce that every lesson and every term and present it. And then on top of that, you have to fill the TPADs. And then on top of that, now they have introduced this that also needs training. So I want to concur with the governor that if teachers need to be trained, yeah, because they have to keep doing the TPD to meet the emerging challenges in the ever-changing educational landscape. And it is our children who will benefit from this training. Let the government fund this kind of training so that they are at a position, they have the moral authority to give ultimatums to teachers. Yeah? But if I go and train myself using my small salary, you won't come now and start giving me ultimatums. So let the government be part of this training so that the teachers are motivated, and then also be able to give them the promotions that they need. I think the CBC is a younger version of the TVET. Yeah, it is TVET trained to the younger people, the younger kids. So we should embrace it. It was a good idea, only that it was executed before time. It was executed prematurely due to all the challenges that we have all listened to. So I think it is a very good idea, but we need time to get there, to be able to have the facilities, the structures, the teachers ready, the kids ready, and everyone ready so that we can implement it. We have seen, in terms of facilities, there's a video that was going around of kids doing an assessment in swimming, and I could not imagine watoto wanaswimishwa on the ground kama wamewekwa kwa gunia. I don't know if you saw that, yeah? So how will that kid know that swimming is done in water? And you expect all the kids in that who are doing that exam to do the practical of swimming. So I think hiyo kwanza ni kutesa watoto. The teachers don't know what to do. So I think there's so much that needs to be done before we can fully embrace the CBC education. So I think I will stop there because there's no time. But I hope that this forum, the contributions from this forum will actually be taken seriously. Tuongee hapa na no one will listen to us. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Halima. Speaker, I've not seen a member of parliament present here. The legislator, renowned legislator Mutula Kilonzo, is no longer one, and therefore allowed to speak on behalf of legislators the aspect of legislation to the subject matter at hand. In that we are here because there is a problem, there's an issue, there's a discussion, there's a discourse. And it is our education sector, not limited to CBC, and how we want to reform it. Our constitution speaks to it as education is a basic need, and therefore food, clothing, shelter, education and health should be included in that aspect. And today we are dealing with one of the basic education that facilitates food, clothing and shelter and health. So without education you cannot facilitate the basic three, including health, so that then after you resolve that aspect you can contribute to the economy socially and economically, and you produce the individual for yourself, for the community and for the country and globally, and hence economic development in our country. And so as legislators we must address this matter, and the process of legislation or making a law is simple. That a problem is identified and that problem must be researched, and that problem must then be processed through a legislative proposal, and which is then taken to the representatives of the people and debated by parliament and assented into law, and then the executive arm of the government is tasked to implement in engaging stakeholders. And in this case stakeholders are teachers, parents and so forth. So I think we are here because the goal is to advance economic development and social well-being of our society, and the enabler is education. So there is need then to implement the Constitution of Kenya, because it was implemented from the branches. That a few people had an intention of transforming the education, but they did not start this way. However, what they did is good because they threw spanner in the works, which has then done some sort of trouble to allow us to research and get views of the citizens and the stakeholders and public participation to this. What I would say is that after we get these views, we should not again develop a gazette notice or regulations, but we should not even amend the Education Act, but purposefully enhance or legislate on education through the National Assembly and the respective county assemblies. The responsibility of the national policy is, education policy is the responsibility of the national government, parliament and executive. The president has initiated the process to review the education policy. So we are in the process of reviewing the policy to incorporate what has been suggested, or those is being suggested to address the subject matter at hand. And therefore, not unless we review the education policy to address the issues that have been raised, then a teacher will not be able, or a principal, to implement that policy. And the DEO or TSC, parent and children, would not leave, because the current regulations and laws as they are not speaking to the issues that we have. And government programs and policies then must be implemented to address an issue. So I think that is very important. There are many conferences that have been held and we never legislate. And then very lastly, Daktari, is that the ECED aspect of county government does not mirror PP1, and PP2 does not mirror to class 1. So education is a universal factor. Its development was good, but I think there need to be harmonization between the national government function and county government function to prepare our pre-primary school children to the primary aspect of it. Now, very lastly, we cannot discuss this when our budget policy or appropriation law speaks to construction of SGR, but not construction of the software our children, so that they may be involved in the next 25 years in being engineers to resolve the issues around the transport sector, around the energy sector, around the water sector. So we need and the Senator, you've been in Parliament, to biasly legislate and allocate resources at the national level to address the issues in education sector, including and not limited to developing the capacity of a teacher who is 50 years and was trained on another scheme or another aspect to deal with a 21st century child. So Ndabuki, the teacher, now is a grandfather and is expected to address issues when he was in Kagumo Teachers College. And the college is physical, but the software has changed and the reality has changed. So allocate resources to capacity build the teachers so that then they can cope with the current challenges in implementing. So without resources, it's not going to work. You can't have a CDF constructing and have a lot of mabati when you are not allocating resources to the person of the child and the teacher to improve the capacity, and when you do not even engage the parents to cope with. So there is need to engage the parents and have resources. The way we have public participation in development and building of dams, then why is it impossible to have teachers, have trainers, or now to cooperate and participate in the function of educating a child, so that then the child, the teacher, and the parent are in a circle, that they are sharing the aspects. So there is need to resource by allocating resources at the national level and a percentage at the county level, not at the whims of the governor, so that a certain percentage must go to ECED in terms of the physical development, but more so on enhancing the software and the brain and the welfare of the child. So whatever we say here, then lastly, without legislation and allocation of resources, is going to be a very good booklet, which will be then archived in library, and it will be used by PhD students, and they will quote, according to this work party, then when Kibwana, a scholar, attended a meeting, he proposed as follows, that we will continue producing a lot of reading materials when we are not legislating and putting resources to implement